Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Innovate BC. We're so honored for our guests to be here. All of you, for those who are just coming to take in some of the knowledge that's going to be passed on. Thank you for joining us. My name is Michelle. I'm joining from Misquitchie, Waskagan, Edmonton, Treaty 6 territory. It feels like a good day because the sun is finally out. We got blue skies. The other day, actually yesterday, saw a rabbit, a wapoose by my place, and it was white. So we know the weather, the season is changing, winter's coming. So just take in all the good moments that have been given to you. So before we get started, I always think it's important to give a shout out, to press pause, to give thanks to Creator for the gift of another day, the gift of this beautiful virtual community that we have here with Can Do. We're so thankful for the gift of land, the gift of the sacred waters, the gift of our circle, our chosen family, our biological family, all our relations, the animals, the plants. So we give thanks for everything that the Creator has given to us and take nothing for granted. So hi, Creator, we give you thanks for this moment. So I am honored to introduce our two guests joining us from BC. We have Mark Barnes and Brandon Prince. They are joining. They're actually going to talk about the University of Northern BC, which has established an Indigenous Research Ambassador Program. So this program aligns well with UNBC's Youth and Student Engagement Strategy, which has a vision to enhance curiosity and research culture at UNBC and across the region. So building on the mission of this strategy, which is to engage youth and students in creative thinking, research, and experiential teaching and learning opportunities, and all of that I say yes to, the Indigenous Research Ambassador Program aims to engage Indigenous students and provide them with an environment that fosters leadership, mentorship skills, and challenges students to stretch their boundaries through a wide range of projects, initiatives, and professional training opportunities. The presentation will provide an overview of this exciting new program at UNBC. So we have Mark, who is just going to pull up his bio here. And I read it and he sounds remarkable, is the Director of Research and Innovation at the University of Northern BC. So he leads a team of professionals who provide support to UNBC's students, research community through fundraising, community engagement, and partnership building and regulatory compliance, in all effort to enhance the institution's teaching and research capacity while providing students with experiential learning opportunities. So he has an MBA, a Master's Certificate in Project Management, Master of Science in Biochemistry, and a Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. Holy, this guy is stacked with knowledge. Born and raised in BC, Prince George. He's privileged and thankful to live and work in the traditional territory of the La Day Tene, and I feel like I didn't say that properly. I know that you will correct me, Mark. And then our next guest is Brandon, and I believe you were a student at UNBC, so you're going to touch on some of what you've learned along the way. So he has a degree in commerce and a Master of Business Administration from UNBC. So the professional role at the university today is Manager of Indigenous Initiatives. That's awesome. Awesome. So he's going to probably tell a little bit more about himself. So welcome to both of you. We're honored. We realize that life is busy and precious, and we just feel very honored that you just pressed pause to come and share about what you are doing at the university there. So welcome. I will pass this virtual mic over to you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Michelle. I don't think we could ever ask for a better introduction, especially the one that Mark said. First of all, thanks for having us, by the way. I always start with an acknowledgement for everything that I do. So I just want to acknowledge that I live, work, and raise my family on the traditional unceded territory of Lake. There you go. So yeah, it's located in Prince George, as our main campus is, northern BC. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my office and kind of my role here and what we're doing. So first of all, I'd like to thank Michelle, Elizabeth, and Elise for allowing Mark and I the opportunity to speak on our institution, my office, the Office of Indigenous Initiatives, and of course, the Indigenous Research Ambassador Program that we're working on along with the Office of Research, ITAX, and my office. Okay. So Office of Indigenous Initiatives up here at UNBC. It's relatively new. I mean, I've been here for about 6 months now. It's great. It's a great place. UNBC is super committed to reconciliation and Indigenous initiatives. So yeah, so basically, actually, before I do that, I want to tell a little bit about myself. Okay, so my name is Asawas. It means bear in Cree. My English name is Brandon Prince, of course. I am Cree Daketh. My band is Binche Huten, which is outside of Fort St. James, and I'm super proud to be a Daketh man. Okay, so I always say that before I do anything else. Just want to say where I'm from, where my family is from, right? My mother is actually from Manitoba, Churchill, and my father is obviously from Fort St. James. So before getting into anything else, so yeah, having said that, obviously my professional role is manager of Indigenous Initiatives. As I said, I'm pretty new in the role. Our office's job is to focus on indigenization of the university. Okay, what does that mean? It means that we're incorporating Indigenous worldviews, knowledge, and perspectives into our institution, while acknowledging each nation has their individual unique worldview. Okay, so what we're trying to do is listen and engage community so we can inform our academic action plan at the institution level. So like I said, our office is leading the engagement of the community, and we're kind of listening to the needs so we can develop our Indigenous action plan, which obviously informs the academic action plan. Because one of the 4 pillars of UNBC's academic action plan is actually indigenization. So our office plays a pretty main function in that plan. Okay. So yeah, without any more about our office, so Mark approached our office to discuss this Indigenous Research Ambassador Program, because obviously committing to and funding some of the projects around here that are Indigenous focused is part of our role as well. So yeah, no, Mark's been great, as you can tell from the introduction. He's totally awesome. So he's done the bulk of the work on this, and we're working along with Candace at MyTax. It's a great program. I think it's yeah, it's going to help a lot of Indigenous students go forward. Like, it fosters research skills, opportunities, and it gives them opportunity to lead and mentor some of their peers. So I really like the program. Like I said, Mark's done the bulk of the work. So having said a little piece on my office, I'm just going to hand it over to Mark, and he'll go over the program in more detail. So yeah, Masi Cho for allowing me to speak, and yeah, over to Mark.
Thanks, Brandon. And thank you, Michelle and the team at Can-Do for inviting us today. I'm very excited to be here, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. So as I begin, I do want to acknowledge that I am joining you from the traditional territory of the Lheidli. So I was born and raised in the North, and very privileged to be able to raise my family and work and live here. It's a beautiful country, especially this time of year. So really exciting. I'm going to actually share my screen because I'll go through a presentation. So really exciting program that we're developing with Brandon and his team, as well as some folks outside of the university. So can everyone see that? Perfect. So I thought what I would do, before I jump into the specifics around the ambassadors program, I thought that I would set the context with providing a bit of an overview of what we do. So as you mentioned, my role at the university is Director of Research and Innovation, and we support faculty teaching and research across the campus, not only here in Prince George, but as well across the region. We have a number of regional campuses. So we try to ensure that we're including folks really across Northern BC. So I'm going to jump into the presentation here and talk a little bit about some of the programs that we do. So to start, UNBC is a research intensive university. So we're small, but we're robust in our success when it comes to research. And it's quite exciting that we are making impact, although it's local. It's certainly that impact is transcending beyond just our region. So we're always trying to find ways to enhance, research culture. And some of that is really the foundation of the research culture really starts at the youth and student engagement programs that we have. So the overall goal of our youth and student engagement programs is really these 6 areas. So one, we really want to foster creative thinking. We want to engage youth and our students in research. We want to develop and also implement scholarships across the board, not only for youth that are coming into UNBC, but also for students who have been here and who have shown that they're productive and that they're contributing, and we like to reward that as well. A big piece for the engagement programs is mentorship. We really want to make sure that we have peer-to-peer mentorship. We want to see community leaders playing a role in mentoring and our youth and our students. So it's really been phenomenal. A lot of our outreach and partnerships are now focused on youth and student engagement, because at the end of the day, we have seen great successes where when we engage early and often, we see those partnerships really flourish. So that's really at the heart of it. And ultimately, we're here to celebrate research. We celebrate all disciplines of research. We celebrate all types of research. It's just a big function of our office to really let folks know what's happening up here at the university and what opportunities there are to engage with our wonderful research community. So as we think about setting that context and developing opportunities for students, we think about this experiential learning continuum. So what does that mean? Well, we want to have opportunities where we have purposeful redundancy. So that means engaging with youth early and often. Some of our programs we see engaging youth as early as ages 6 to 12. Then we have kind of programs that focus on, say, 13 to 18, and then so on into kind of university age. And the idea there is to really create this continuum of learning that perhaps early on we're just trying to foster creative thinking and get youth thinking differently about the world that they live in. And as they kind of move through that continuum to being introduced to research and then actually participating in research. So it really is that full continuum. And this slide kind of gives you an idea of the various phases and stages of this purposeful redundancy with our kind of continuum. So it really starts with the discovery phase. Again, we have students aged 6 to 12, and we have programs like our Indigenous Summer Science Camps, our Active Minds programming, and so on. Again, this is really just to impart those creative thinking skills in youth. As that begins, we then look at how can we develop those skills? And then so we kind of move into the second phase of this continuum where, again, we start to stimulate and foster interest in science, and we start to really develop those critical thinking skills. We also, at that point, will start to introduce more formal learning concepts. And you can see there's a suite of programs that we have that really support that development. Again, one of the core focus areas for us is mentorship. So as youth and students are moving through this continuum, they too then become mentors, and they bring folks along with them. They become mentors for their peers. And this is really it's so exciting to watch peers mentoring each other, and also seeing leaders in the community mentor the youth. It's just really creates that wonderful ecosystem that we can really advance collectively. And then also, this is probably at the point where we start to introduce, big R research. Research can be kind of this nebulous concept. So we try to really walk students and youth through what it means to engage in research. So then we then move into kind of this partnership phase where we've had a number of examples where we've had students, and can you guys see, I'm not sure if I see the same, can you see the number 4 there on the screen? I'm not sure if I have the same view as you guys, but the last phase here, yeah, okay, perfect. So we, and please, if there's any questions, feel free to jump in at any time. I can't see the chat, but please just unmute and jump in. But as I was saying, we kind of move into that partnership phase where we have a number of students and youth who've went through the program and they become alumni, and then they not only will continue to mentor, but then we've seen them help us to further develop partnerships, whether it's with industry, it's with community, it's linkages to government, and so on. So if you look at the left-hand margin here, you can see a suite of programs that we have. Today, we're really focusing on the Indigenous Research Ambassadors Program, but really what we're trying to do with our programs is ensure that we have that purposeful redundancy, and then where it makes sense to have overlap in the programs, we try to create that continuum. So there's a number of programs that we see here. Some of them are very much research focused and some of them are not. And that's kind of by design, because we're not just trying to, I guess, I mean, this is one goal of the program is, I was going to say, we're not just trying to foster the next generation of researchers, but what we're really trying to do is just impart those creative thinking skills and make youth and students aware of the tremendous opportunities that they have. So that's the experiential learning continuum. And now I'm going to jump into the Indigenous Research Ambassadors Program. So, you know, just to provide a bit of context, we do have an existing Research Ambassadors Program. We are in the 5th cohort of the program. It's been a tremendous success. And, you know, after conversations with Brandon and his team, as well as some folks, some of our key partners outside of the university, like the school districts and so on, we've identified that there is a really, really great opportunity for us to develop an Indigenous Research Ambassadors Program. And with Brandon's guidance and you know, our collective effort here, we've, I think, pulled together something quite exciting, and it's gaining a lot of interest and support, not only within UNBC, but also in the community and with our partners. So I'm just going to jump into the program details a little bit. So because we're just getting the program off the ground, our plan is to run a pilot for about 1.5 years. This program will come with some administrative support, because we noticed that is a critical piece in order to really ensure that the program is successful. So what that will mean is each internship will be 6 months. And what we'll see is there will be a 2-month overlap with each cohort. So when I talk about that continuum, we're kind of also applying that concept to this program itself, and which we do actually with most of our youth programming. Again, that creates that continuity between each cohort, but then it also creates that opportunity for cohorts to become peer mentors. And, you know, you might have one cohort mentoring, you know, the new cohort that's just coming online. So we've seen that's going to be critical in the success. And again, we're kind of adopting some of the practices that we've seen with some of our other successful programs. So each internship will be valued at $6,000, and the application process will be kind of an internal adjudication, and we have a set criteria that we are still kind of we're working through the final steps on solidifying those details, but and then we'll award a number of internships per cohort. So when I jump into the program objectives, there's really 4 areas: encourage, engage, connect, and strengthen. So first and foremost, we really want to encourage Indigenous students to, you know, think creatively and discover the arts and sciences through these experiential learning opportunities. We currently have a number of researchers that are doing work in the community, and we've seen some really exciting examples where, you know, youth in elementary school will actually come along with research groups out into the field, and they'll really be able to participate, and they'll be able to share their cultural cultural knowledge and really merge those two worlds of Western science and Indigenous ways of knowing. So I think it's really, we've seen some great successes, and we're really trying to build off that to encourage that continued engagement. And really what our ultimate goal is to engage Indigenous students in research and experiential learning. So because it is a pilot program, our thought, similar to what we've done with other programs, is we will let the first cohort really kind of develop the program as they see fit. We give a lot of autonomy, and it's really exciting because then we see the students really gain this sense of ownership. And there's been some really cool things, like, for example, podcasts that the students have developed where they'll invite researchers from UNBC just to talk about research, and those students will then share their experience as a researcher. So really neat examples of when we let them kind of develop the program as they would like to. Some cool things happen, and we plan to do that with this as well. We really want to make sure that we're connecting our Indigenous students, not only with researchers at the institution and perhaps at some of our partner institutions, but also within the community. UNBC, as I mentioned, is a regional university. So we want to see how we can utilize these youth and student engagement programs through our Indigenous Research Ambassadors Program specifically, to build on those connections and ensure that we are responding to those needs in the community. And ultimately, this will strengthen our collaborations and partnerships. So, these are kind of the overall objectives, and happy to jump into more on that. So as an intern, these are some of the roles and activities that an Indigenous Research Ambassador would engage in. So again, Indigenous students would be working closely with Indigenous researchers and knowledge holders to first get an introduction to research. Now, it is possible that some of our Indigenous research ambassadors have some research experience, which is fantastic. I think that that's where we'll see some mentorship happen. But we also would open it up to students who maybe are curious about research and but maybe have not yet engaged in research directly. So that's really, how do we build that culture of research? Again, working with our communities, encouraging youth to engage in those creative thinking activities. And the ambassadors will typically, they will actually organize and host some of those creative thinking activities. So that's really exciting. And that's, again, an opportunity to mentor youth and students. So, there's a number of, roles and activities that we have listed here, but again, we are quite interested to listen to the youth and the students to see, what kind of activities and roles could they engage in that they could see contributing to creating that culture of research and further enhancing that that mentorship opportunity. All of these are fantastic professional development opportunities. So we are quite supportive of most anything that the youth come up with. And ultimately, some of the key outcomes, we want to foster respect and understanding by generating Indigenous and non-Indigenous student insights into Indigenous knowledge and knowing. And so, what we're trying to do is we want to hear from the perspectives of our youth. They hold a tremendous amount of knowledge, and, we look to them to inform us so that we try to make the right decisions. And through programs like this, it really creates that opportunity for us to have those conversations. And also, as I mentioned, a big focus is to how do we introduce our Indigenous and non-Indigenous students to conduct respectful, culturally sensitive, and collaborative community-based research using Indigenous and non-Indigenous research methodologies. Excuse me, as I mentioned, it's really kind of the merging of those two worlds. So that's kind of an overview of the program and, kind of the roles and activities of the ambassadors themselves and what we hope to achieve with the outcomes. So that really covers off the formal presentation. I thought that, we would leave some time for discussion because oftentimes there are a number of questions or comments that come up. Again, because we're in early development and we're just rolling out a pilot, we absolutely look to our partners in the community, as well as our youth and our students, to provide feedback, to provide ideas. We're very, we like to think of ourselves as flexible and nimble so that we can be responsive to those needs. So, maybe I'll just pause and we can open it up for any questions, questions from the audience.
Yeah,
and thank you.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Brandon, for just teaching us a little bit about this program. It sounds very empowering. It also sounds inclusive, that you're really inviting ideas. And the other word I wrote down was also engaging. So it sounds like a really great program. So we have Ken, and we have, let me just see who else is on. We have Jackson. Do either of you have any questions or any comments of what you heard about this program?
It's Ken, if I may.
Yes.
One thing that jumped out at me as you were describing the ambassadorship is spending time with the students, that when they learn a skill in what they're learning with your program, is to emphasize the transferability of the transfer of those skills into the rest of their life. So if they're learning something, you can say you're gaining this skill, but you're only gaining a little bit of it. If you wanted to pursue it, these are the kind of jobs or whatever that you would use this in. And here's the avenue of going. So if this is something that really turns you on, and you want to pursue it, this is a transferable skill. So once you've picked up this skill, please be aware that you have a skill. It may be only a small skill, but at least you can transfer this into another position or a job or a career or whatever it is, or if you have an interest in it, there is a career in that, or a potential career, or there has been, or in the future maybe. So the transferability of everything you teach them or everything they learn would be an immense strength for them to say, I only know a little bit about it, but this is transferable in all these other areas. So that's the thing that jumped out at me. Thank you.
Yeah, I can respond to Ken, and then Brandon, I'll invite you as well if you had wanted to add anything. But, Ken, that's a really, really great point that you've raised, and something that Brandon and I have talked about a number of times. The idea that not only could they transfer those skills to their peers, but recognizing those opportunities for career growth and development is absolutely kind of at the heart of this. One thing I didn't touch on, but plays into this, is we have a number of entrepreneurship programs, including Indigenous entrepreneurship programs, where we're trying to merge the world of kind of entrepreneurship and research, because we see those transferable skills that you're talking about fit so nicely together. And I think that part of what we've seen with our current ambassadors program, and certainly have plans with this program as we roll it out, is to continuously make students and youth aware of where they can bring those skills, what career paths they could follow if they are interested. Sometimes folks are really interested in entrepreneurship, but they may not want to become an entrepreneur. They just have that entrepreneurial mindset. So we try to harness that to show how they can apply that without kind of taking on the risk of starting a new business. So we try to foster that. And likewise on the research side of things. So you could definitely start to build out some of those research skills where, but not everyone wants to become, a professor at a university. However, you can apply those skills to whatever career that you decide to really to pursue. I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is build foundational skills, transferable skills, as you mentioned, that will really be able to be applied throughout life, and hopefully in many situations that the students and youth would find themselves in. So I think that's I'm glad that came through, Ken, because that's certainly one of our key focus areas.
Ken, you're always great with the comments and questions. Thank you. Jackson, I don't know if you have any comment, question that you want to ask at this time. I do want to comment on, pardon me, how important mentorship and leadership is. I think that that's so valuable, so important to have in any kind of program. So I was really excited to hear about that. What's the recruitment? How do you recruit young people to come to this program?
So we're still, we're finalizing kind of what the application process would look like. But what I think will mirror, some of the other programs that we've run, because we've seen a lot of success. So what we typically do is we put a call out for expressions of interest. We'll start to notify students that, hey, a deadline is coming up. Here's the ambassadors program is bringing on a cohort. We encourage you to apply. And so we'll have some set criteria that we would want to hear from them on. And some of that, again, is still being finalized. But then we put that call out, and then we invite the applications from our community. And then what we do is we usually have an internal adjudication committee, which will look through the applications that we've received. And normally the programs are like highly subscribed, so it makes the decision-making process a bit tricky, because we'd love to, but we can't always fund all the applications that come through. But we make a selection based on the information that students have provided us. And what we try to do is also mentor them through that application process, so that we don't just wait for the application deadline, look at what's been submitted and leave it there. We really try to create a culture where they can bring ideas forward to us, so that we can kind of help co-develop an application. So then once that's been, once the cohort has been identified, then we kind of just have our usual kind of pre-meetings, welcome meetings, and then they hit the ground running. So I think we'll probably adopt a lot of that for this program. I think with the Indigenous Research Ambassadors, and Brandon, if you can touch on this too, I think we'll probably involve the community at a different level than we would with our current Research Ambassadors program, because a big goal for the program is to build those connections, build those linkages within the community. So, we will, rely on our school districts and communities throughout the region to be a part of that.
It's Ken again.
Engagement is a huge thing for not only his department, but mine as well, and the university as a whole. So yeah, super important.
And Ken,
I'm back again.
Go for it.
Mark, when you were talking, another thought came to mind, and I don't mean to overburden you, but there's an opportunity here to reach out, not necessarily yourselves, but the people in the community, the teachers in the classrooms, to not only bring the top to polish the apples, polish the best, but to reach down to the bottom, and those people that are disadvantaged, whether they be disabled, whether they be singled out, whether they be quiet, and to pull them forward. And if you can pull them in and make them shine, you bring, if you take the bottom and bring it up, you bring everybody up. It's I don't know whether it applies to the tide, rising tide rises all boats. But if you look at the boats that are ready to sink, and you help bail them out and give special, you don't have to do it to everybody. I mean, it's not a program for bringing everybody from the bottom to the top, but open it up so that just the apples don't get in, rise to the top. There's also people that are quiet, won't come forward, need to be coaxed, and then all of a sudden they blossom, and you say, wow, well, look what we've done.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head again, Ken. So one thing, so I mentioned our entrepreneurship programming. So we have a number of programs where youth in the community will go through some entrepreneurship training. And, part of that will include doing some kind of formal academic programming and then also a pitch competition. And your point around how do we reach the students that maybe are quiet in the room, and so that's been a core focus for us for that program. And because, at the end of the day, many youth in the community, they have a general idea of kind of the path they want to take. They might have some supports in the community that are kind of, supporting them along and guiding them along that path. But we know there are other youth that perhaps are unaware, or maybe they are shy to come forward. So that is, again, something that we're really quite excited about, is how do we reach those youth that had no idea about research and had no idea how they could get involved. So yes, that's a great point. It's definitely something that we're really we're hoping to accomplish with this.
I think it was you, Brandon, who said, the university is really responding to the reconciliation. And I'm just wondering, so I was in BC last week and I was taking some training, and it was really integral to have the elders and the knowledge keepers there. That was just so vital to the training, the program, the content. I really like hearing that this program, yes, is allowing opportunity for the young people to design and go, create or go the direction that they see. But so where does the knowledge keepers and elders and perhaps ceremony fit into this?
To the program?
Yes.
Yeah, the program. I don't know if we're specifically bringing elders in, but I don't know, the university, I'll just speak to my experience with our office regarding the knowledge keepers. Super important in the work that we do at our office, and I'm sure it's important to Mark's office as well. That's where all the knowledge is kept, right? So we like to bring elders onto campus to join classes and join really the events that my office puts on, for sure. We like to be super respectful of the elders and kind of make sure there's a connection between the elders and the youth that we bring into these programs, right? Because it's really important that youth are connected to the elders, because I hear elders speak that they're losing connection to the youth, right? Our youth aren't really, I'm not talking about all youth, but some youth are not very keen on speaking to elders and learning the old ways, right? So building that link back up is super important, not only to communities, but to our participants as well, right? Because I never want to lose that link between our past and the future, right? And you talked about reconciliation, right? And that's part of it, right? Because we're all moving together to, we're all moving to beside each other forward, right? So elders are good not only for participants and not only for Indigenous students as well, but it's good for non-Indigenous to learn the knowledge that has been kept from them for all these years. So that's the truth part of the truth and reconciliation piece, right? So yeah, just ending that off, right? Elders super important to our process, the university's process and the program, for sure.
I think I'll just add one little piece to Brandon's. We really would work closely with his office, because I think when we talk about mentorship, anytime we can have the youth engaging with elders to really foster that transfer of knowledge, that's something that we're hoping to accomplish. I just kind of touched high level on the roles and activities that the ambassadors would be engaged in, and definitely, again, because we're just rolling out the pilot, it's not all those details are sorted, but we definitely learning from some of the Indigenous scholars on campus that connection to the elders is so important. And Brandon's group, they do such a fantastic job on acting on behalf of the institution. So my hope is that that'll be kind of, again, one of those foundational pieces.
Great, that's so important. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to answer that. Jackson has a question or comments. Go for it, Jackson.
I was actually going to ask a question, and this may be a little more administrative than what you guys currently want to get into, but I'm just wondering, what sort of criteria have you set up to identify an Indigenous Research Ambassador, just in terms of like, so when you have somebody applying, how are they demonstrating that they are Indigenous?
That's a really good question, Jackson. So what we're doing right now is the institution-wide, and I'll speak to kind of a broad strategy, and then it kind of applies to the program itself. So we're doing quite a bit of work on developing a safe, culturally safe and robust self-identification process where students can they can self-identify in a safe way, and so that information is held safely. So that would be one criteria. And then also, other things like just general interest in research, connections to the community and things like that. So there's a number of criteria that we would put in place that would help us kind of develop that diverse cohort of student ambassadors.
I guess it brings up the question of like, and I think that, we probably have all seen in the news recently about self-identified in people who will self-identify as Indigenous and then later being proven that they are not actually Indigenous. And I know that, like, I mean, for myself in our program, we've talked a bit about this, but it's just, it's becoming more of a difficult problem, particularly when you're offering a service or some type of, programming that's meant to be specifically for Indigenous people. So I guess it just, I'm feeling like as a manager myself that I have to take extra steps to ensure that anything that we're doing is going to the people that it's intended to go to.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a really important point that you bring up, and something, Jackson, that perhaps, I know we had a recent conversation around some other areas of alignment between our organizations, and we're always open to listening to how other folks are kind of working through those processes. So any kind of best practices that can be shared, that's something that we're certainly open to having a conversation. One thing and that's part of the reason we launch programs, kind of as a pilot, is so that we can really start to work through all of those steps, not only through the administrative steps, but, the program development as well, to ensure that, like you were saying, not only are we reaching the individuals that we're hoping to reach, but that the program is achieving the goals that we set out to achieve. So, if you're open to it, Jackson, to have that conversation offline, I would love to hear how you kind of are working through some of that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I'd definitely be open to it. I'm just feeling like, I guess that sort of where we're at, like, I think that a lot of institutions are at the same place, is that they, in a sense, are just kind of throwing their hands up in the air. They've said, well, we've told people they can self-identify, but then they leave it in our hands to interpret what that is and how we're going to do that. And it's not working, in my opinion. So it leaves the door open to too much people who will take advantage of that scenario. So it's just, yeah, definitely open to it. And I'm actually have been looking, and I'm sorry to take away from this program, which I think is really great. And I just, I don't mean to do that, but definitely let's have a conversation beyond this.
That sounds good. And I don't see that as taking it away. It's important. Again, part of the reason I was so excited to come here to talk about it today is, any kind of feedback that we can receive in order to really develop the right program in the right way is why we have these conversations. So I appreciate that you raised that, and, absolutely, I'll reach out to you afterwards, Jackson, and we can have a conversation on that.
Yeah, Jackson, good point. I was just talking about that fact with my my manager there. There's no real mechanism at this point to deal with that specific problem. So I'd really like to chime in on that meeting, kind of get your perspective on what we can do about that, because we're kind of all in the same boat on that piece, right? And yeah, three heads are better than one, right? So I'm interested to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, that sounds good. That's
Yeah.
thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love to hear the potential dialogue that could go beyond this conversation. And that's an important piece to really take on and talk about, because it is a hot topic right now, and it keeps coming back again and again. So really important to be discussed. Ken just made a comment in the chat box. He says, excellent potential for success. So thank you for sharing. It is an exciting initiative to hear what is happening at UNBC. One thing, I wrote this down that really made me excited as I think about our young Indigenous, our people. That there's so much opportunity, so many doors that are opening. And I really liked what you had to say, Mark, when you said it's about fostering the next generation of researchers. And to me, that just makes me excited. And the possibility that, our people bring so much gift and knowledge to the table. And this is just an opportunity for them to grow and to excel in their gifts and their abilities. So it's a great initiative that you have started there. Thank you so much for sharing it and letting us know. I know you said a couple of times this is just in the pilot, and it's really exciting to hear that this is happening. So thank you so much for your time, both of you. We really honor what you're doing there in BC, UNBC specifically. Keep doing it, keep paving those paths. We are just honored that you got to spend some time with us today. So thanks everybody for joining. Wherever you are, I hope that you take a chance to spend time with Mother Earth, with the land. Every day we need to make those connections. It's good for our spirits. And when we're good to our spirit, that only strengthens the community and the circle that's around us. So hope you are well. Have a good rest of the day, and thank you for joining us. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.